welcome to the 16th episode of the Illuminutty podcast. I know I said that last episode, but small, I blame Grumpy Cat. No, just kidding. I love you, Grumpy Cat. But we're gonna talk a little tied in recruiting here to start the show, and Podfather is graciously agreed to join me and share his opinion while sporting his Illuminutty t-shirt and looking really sharp, I might add.
Yes, indeed. I do. I feel good in this. I feel like a smarter football fan.
Only thing missing is the tinfoil hat, but
Well, I got the next best thing.
yep, that'll work. Anyway, guys, there was buzz about a commitment from Mason Oglesby, and everything from our insider Vader, if you've been following on the OHIO podcast, said that Keenan Bailey has kind of dropped the ball when it comes to tight end recruiting as of late. He zeroed in on Brock Williams and then tried to circle back in on Jordan Karhoff, RJ Day's main target and tight end out of DeSales High School, and they weren't that responsive to begin with. And then all the buzz shifted to, could we get Ryan Day to get more involved in Mason Oglesby's recruitment? And by all information that we have, he did get more involved, but looks like it was a little too late, and that's unfortunate because I think he had the potential to be a very well-rounded tight end at the next level, although probably more of a pass catching threat than what we seem to be looking for at this point. Now, I'm really high on our recent tight end offer. Xavier Brenson is the name of the tight end. Now, he's a member of the 2028 class, and he reminds me a lot of the 2026 number one ranked tight end that committed to Oregon. If you remember him, his name is Kendra Harrison. He's also plays defensive end, and he's 6'6" and 235. 6'6" and a half, and he's a big-bodied, athletic dude. He's a force on both sides of the ball, just like Kendra Harrison was. And if we're gonna land him, since we offered him recently, I think Ryan Day is gonna have to step in early and make this guy a priority, because he's got offers from just about every other big-name team in the country right now, and it's for good reason. He's a heck of an athlete. What is your thoughts on the tight end recruiting situation, Podfather?
Well, this has been when the light was shown on this a little over a week ago by yourself and Vader. I went back and did some digging on where I thought some things went wrong. Sean Curry, who committed to Penn State earlier today, as of this recording, was someone who I thought we were a lock to get him. He decommitted from Virginia. He was the first offer by Arthur Smith. And you can go back and you can go look at his social media, and you can see everything was Ohio State until the end of April, and then it all flipped to Penn State.
Yeah, I know. It was like a perfectly laid out timeline of events, and it's a shame because he was all set to commit to play lacrosse at Virginia, and we got him to reconsider, and he was all Buckeye, and it looked really good, and you and I talked about it. I think it may have stemmed from Bailey not liking the fact that Arthur Smith was the one to offer.
Possibly, but Vader confirmed basically that Bailey hadn't been recruiting him. And maybe you're right, Mika. Maybe it's because he's not the one who offered him, but you lose out on that. Jackson Dollar
Yeah,
committed to Georgia.
which I was extremely high on that kid. That he was one of my favorite tight ends in the class, and he had a family that were big Buckeye fans and stuff. His uncle used to come in the chat at Buck Nights and a lot of other podcasts and talk about how excited he was to get an offer and everything like that. So that kills me because I had some good chats with him and I was on his film early. I thought he was very impressive, and I'm sad to see that we didn't really give that much of a shot. Really, we because I think we had a really good shot at landing him if we'd have pushed.
Mason Oglesby, like you mentioned, and Sean Curry and Jackson Dollar. And then let's look at some of the local guys we've missed out on. D'Angelo White from St. Joe's in Cleveland. He's going to Louisville. Jackson Bollinger, who is from Centerburg, which is literally just under an hour away from the Horseshoe. I mean, Centerburg is just a hop skip. Centerburg's right above Sunbury Big Walnut.
Yep.
It's in the southern part of Knox County. He's going to Florida. It's almost like, was Keenan even recruiting this class? Like, what did he literally think that Brock Williams was such a lock that he quit recruiting just the class entirely? And when that fell through, and he went uh, down south as well to Texas, it was almost like he had no plan B. That's what it appears like to me, and it's super disappointing, and it really puts things in perspective. And I can't help but think, Mika, wearing my tinfoil hat tonight. Remember when Ryan Day said your job as position coaches is to make your room you, wide
I
receiver
was
you, O
I
line
was just
you,
about to make that point. Yep.
and wow, Keenan, not even close, partner.
No, I mean like, and I get we got a system that isn't exactly the most tight end friendly, so that might be a part of the problem, but still, like, the lack of effort and the lack of communication put forth to recruit more than one and not zero in on just one guy and put all your eggs in one basket, so to speak, is just unbelievable. Like, that's not the job of a recruiter. I mean, you don't have to flat out lie to kids and tell every one of them that they're your guy, but you should still be, opening, keeping the, keeping that relationship going and keeping the lines of communication going. That way, if your main guy falls through, you have plenty of backup plans to say, hey, we've been talking this entire time. I'm really interested in you, and you don't burn bridges especially to burn bridges for in-state guys kills me because that should be our bread and butter. And I talked about it with Vader. This was one of the deepest in-state tight end classes we've had in years. And I mean, right now, our best bet, like you said, is to circle back on Jordan Karloff and hope that Ryan Day can salvage it. But honestly, like, you don't want to see him lean too much on the relationship between him and RJ Day because I'd hate to see that cause problems with them. I don't think it would, but you never know.
Sorry. You're right. You never know. And if the reports from Vader are true, the Karhoff family are very offended about being a plan B. And we're offended by how Keenan was basically panicking and blowing up, their phones over the weekend, last weekend, trying to um, make him appear to be like the main target when he essentially had ignored them for so long. And they were able to read through that, and they took offense to that. And it's something that I've been talking about for years, Mika, and I'm sure you will agree with me on this. Chris and I have talked about this. You can't treat the Ohio recruits, the kids from Ohio, like they are circle back around plan Bs. You got to make them a priority, and it feels like they did that with the offensive line recruiting, and they've
Yeah.
done that with some of the other position groups. And apparently, Keenan Bailey didn't get that memo.
And I mean, no one, and it's understandable, no one wants to feel like a plan B, like the second option to anyone. You don't do that in a, well, any sort of relationship. And it's the same with recruiting. No one wants to feel like you want that coach's first choice. And I don't blame these kids for seeing right through it. And with NIL and everything, recruiting is national now. So these Ohio kids got more options than ever. Like, they can go, they're not afraid to open things up and go other places. With the internet and NIL and everything, there's no such thing as just being a in-state recruit anymore. If you're good enough, other schools are gonna find you. And like you said, we got the memo when it came to offensive line recruiting. Apparently, it got lost in translation with Keenan lately. I don't know. And I don't know. Did he get so pumped up about the landing Nate Roberts and how that worked for him to land Nate Roberts? How he zeroed in on Nate, and that was his guy, and he ended up landing him. And was he so floored by how that worked that he's just not willing to consider other options now, that he thinks that that's going to work every time? Newsflash, it's not going to work every time, and it's a rude awakening right now, and we're going to have to go back to the board and start looking at other options and hope that a guy pops up, or supplement out of transfer portal. I hear people talk about that all the time, but that's not feasible all the time. There's not always a sustainable option in the transfer portal. We got lucky lately, but that should never be, oh well, we don't have to recruit. There's always the transfer portal. That should be break glass in case of emergency option always, in my opinion. But that could just be me coming from a recruiting first standpoint. But I don't know. Am I just being too old school with that, or what's your opinion?
Old school's the best school. That's my opinion. Um, no, um, obviously the transfer portal is going to have to be a thing at this point, but I think if that becomes your main emphasis of acquiring talent, then it's a gamble. You're playing Russian roulette at that point.
Yeah, you really are. And not to mention, like, if you if you're in the transfer portal, a lot of the guys we look at don't that we bring in are on their last year or two of eligibility. Like, we don't normally bring in guys that have multiple years of eligibility. So you don't know. That could affect the room too. Like, you can't always count on that because what if injuries happen and that guy can't go? I mean, this is a physical sport. You always have to have high school a high school guy ready in the wings in case of injury, especially with the playoffs possibly expanding and season getting longer and longer. Like, injuries are going to happen, so it puts, in my opinion, more emphasis on recruiting. I know that a lot of people are saying, oh, recruiting doesn't mean as much now with NIL and the transfer portal. With the season getting longer and football just continuing to be a physical sport, like I said, recruiting possibly means more now than ever, in my opinion. But that might just be me hoping for more job security. I don't know. But that's just how I feel about it. I mean, also always follow recruiting and do my best to bring you guys the most pertinent information at the time, regardless of whether it's the transfer portal or kids out of high school. But we just gotta, we just gotta do better bringing in these kids and making them feel like priorities. Like I said, we don't have to always pretend like every guy is the number one guy, but you still gotta keep those communication options open so when guys fall through, you have backup plans and you're not scrambling at the last minute and insulting their intelligence by pretending, oh yeah, you were my number one guy this whole time. I don't know why I didn't call or text you in months. Like, it must have been something with my phone. These kids and these families aren't stupid, especially if they've dealt with the recruiting process for a while now. So I'm sure they have a good idea of how these things work. So it's just insulting to circle back and pretend like, oh, yeah, you were my number one guy the whole time. Don't worry about it. It's kind of ridiculous, honestly. And we can do better at Ohio State. And I fully expect Ryan Day to take the bull by the horns and maybe we see him try to step away from Keenan. I don't know. Maybe we see him light a fire under Keenan and say, uh, get your get your stuff together or go kick rocks, man, because I don't want to see this cost us any games or a shot at the national championship or anything like that. I don't think anyone wants to see that. And if you're not the best of the best at your position, whether you're a player or a coach, that Ohio State might not be the place for you. But that's just my opinion. What do you think, Podfather?
Well, Ryan Day said it himself. Your expectations as a recruit when you come here to be our first and second round draft pick, but I think the same level of expectation should be placed on the coaching staff. You should be recruiting like you're bringing in first and second round talent and then develop them to make sure they go to the NFL in the first or second round. And it's a swing and a miss by Keenan Bailey if he's bringing in uh, borderline draftable tight ends. Um, I mean, at that point, you better be an absolute ace developer of talent. And I don't know that he has been, to be quite honest with you. So, um, I look at this situation with Keenan Bailey and what you've presented, and it's very frustrating as an Ohio State fan. But the other thing I want to bring up when it comes to the transfer portal is the more schools rely on the transfer portal, the less talent you're going to be able to choose from in the transfer portal, number one.
Yep.
And number two, what happens if you have multiple guys from your room leave and go to the transfer portal? Now you don't just need one, you might need two or three tight ends from the transfer portal. And those guys are just like kids who are recruited. They see who might be coming. And if it's like, hey, man, you already got a tight end, why would I go there?
Yep.
He's putting himself in a very, very bad place in the next couple cycles because of his lack of ability to land talented tight ends. Do I think we get one in this class? I do. But that kid who we get in this class might be someone who really, in all honesty, probably doesn't deserve a scholarship to be here at Ohio State. I mean, the names on that list, if you start to go down that list, he just offered a kid who's committed to North Carolina who was ranked 1,100 and something in the nation. And I'm like, are we serious right now? That's where we're going with this thing, is going after kids from who are committed to Northwestern. Uh, Apparently so. By the way, that the individual who I'm talking about is Brady Johnson.
Yeah, you said North Carolina. I think you meant Northwestern.
Northwestern. I'm sorry. Yeah, he's a committed to Northwestern from Illinois. Brady Johnson. He's ranked. Here's his ranking. 247 composite. He's the 1,280th ranked player in the nation. He's the 67th highest ranked tight end, and he's the 42nd highest ranked recruit from the state of Illinois, Mika.
Yep. And I mean, I watched his tape. He does have some decent traits as a pass catcher and everything, but I mean, like, to have that be your option, and I do think it's kind of funny that OJ Day commits to Northwestern, and then uh, we we offer his tight end like college football giveth, college football taketh away type thing. That was kind of funny to me, but yes, there is potential there. I don't mean to poo poo on the kid, but as you said, like, with the state of Ohio itself being loaded this year with tight end talent and options galore, like, we could have put forth a better effort on the recruiting trail to keep more options open at this point. And I I don't know. I have a theory, and I'll run this by you and see what you think. A lot of the guys that we miss have missed on also play other positions. So do you think that has anything to do with it at all? Because I noticed a lot of the guys that we've missed on also play like defensive end and stuff like that. Does Keenan want a guy that strictly is a tight end?
I don't know that that would matter, nor should it, Mika, because when you come here, you're going to be developed in the position that you're recruited for. I go back to the last really good tight end we had, right?
Yep.
And Cade Stover. He came in as a linebacker.
He went everywhere. He went linebacker, defensive
Defensive
end,
end, yeah.
tight end, went back to linebacker for a little bit.
So if that's what Keenan's thinking, then it's stinking thinking, if you ask me my opinion,
I
because
think so too.
yeah, because I mean a lot of these tight ends are going to play both ways. What coach wouldn't want your tight end to also be one of your best defensive players, whether that be end, linebacker, you name the position. Um, so, and quite frankly, I like that if I'm a coach because that tells me he's extremely athletic and versatile.
I really do too. And like I said about the kid we just offered in the 2028 cycle, Xavier Brenton, like, he could be a very good defensive end in college if he chose to devote his time purely to that. he's just an athletic dog, but he's one of those guys that I think if we don't put forth our best effort to recruit him and, you know, actually act like we're interested and want to develop that athleticism and use his gifts to the fullest, then we're going to miss out on him. And hopefully, when we do, we have other options. When and if we do, we have other options to fall back on, because I don't want to see us put all our eggs in one basket again. And let's hope Keenan learns from this cycle and doesn't make the same mistakes. But I don't know. We'll see what happens. It's an interesting thing to keep an eye on for sure. And like you said, when tight ends play multiple positions, I think that's a good thing, because not only does it speak to their athleticism, but it also speaks to their willingness to do whatever it takes to help the team, to be that guy that says, no, I'm not coming off the field. I want to be on the field and help my teammates out. I want to be the guy that makes plays everywhere. I'll do whatever you ask me to do. If I'm a coach, that just thrills me, because that means you're available and you're ready and you're open to taking coaching, and you just are passionate about the game of football. And that's the type of players I want to see at Ohio State. The players that want to be on the field at all times, that want to put in the blood, sweat, and tears it takes to be elite at this level of college football. So hopefully that's not the case. I just noticed that being a bit of a pattern, that the guys that were missing on or not recruiting as heavily tended to be guys that played multiple positions for the high school. And you know, this is a tinfoil hat channel, so I had to throw it out there just to posit it, because I haven't heard anyone talk about it recently, so, or at all for that matter. So I wanted to get your guys' opinion. What do you think? Are we only interested in guys that play specifically tight end and nowhere else? Do you think we should go back and land Jordan Karhoff, or is that ship sailed? Do you think we're making too much out of tight end recruiting and should just bring in a dude from the transfer portal? I want to know everyone's thoughts and feelings. What do you think about Keenan? Are we making a mountain out of a molehill? Will this sort itself out? Do we need to change our scheme to fit different tight ends and just focus on more blocking guys? Or just let me know your thoughts. I'm always interested. And if you want to pick up your own Illuminutty t-shirt, as Eric was so kind of to model for me today, be sure to check our merchandise out. And also all of our other merchandise. Buck Vader's got his own line of hoodies and shirts and stuff like that. And Sean and TG, and join us over on Patreon. We just dropped a bunch of evaluations and stuff on our recruiting database, including some of our most recent offers, like Xavier Brinson, the guy that I mentioned in this video. So if you're interested to know our thoughts, please check that out and stay tuned for the next episode. And hopefully I'll have a special guest on next episode. It depends on how our schedules line up, but I'm trying to get it worked out for you guys. So stay tuned, and as always, OH
IO.
Go Bucks and Scum still sucks.
Thanks for watching, everybody.